What is going on, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another Beta Memoirs and another weekly update where I like to give you insight into the week upcoming and kind of talk about what is going on. And now we've had a lot of interesting stuff going on, especially last week. We had the FOMC meeting last week. We had Powell last week. We had some great information last week as far as inflation. Powell himself has actually come and reiterated essentially what he said, although the Fed has started making corrections, but Federal Powell himself has actually reiterated the fact that they will not be tapering until towards the end of 2022, possibly even 2023. So being said, why is the market panicking? He is making adjustments to the banks as well to help with getting into that tapering session. He is slowly trying to raise the temperature of the water. He is not trying to go from cold to hot. As you know, doing anything cold to hot too fast is liable to break the machine. Being said, I think Federal Powell has done quite well, a fantastic job in trying to adjust this and realize that the inflation we do have is transitory. Yes, we'll probably have, the numbers have actually been dropping, but coming into the end of summer, we should see a little bit more of a spike in inflation because of the supply and demand being in summer and seeing that supply and demand kind of rise. But ultimately understand it will come back down. But the good news is we are seeing big tech take advantage of that. Yes, the rest of the market has been really crashing pretty hard, as you can see on SPY here. But big tech has held it together. Big tech has actually held, and some of it's actually pumped. E-commerce has had a crazy past couple of weeks. Big tech, like I said, even Facebook had a crazy run. Tesla's really been showing a lot of strength. Apple's showing a lot of strength. A lot of the big names, essentially been pushing. So just being said, keep this in mind. But with a massive amount of strength that has come into big tech, and the market's selling off. The market is going to base. They're going to digest this news. I think it's a lot of digestion. You're doing with a lot of rebalancing coming into the next week, coming into the month, because we got earnings. We got a lot of earnings coming in next month. We have to understand that. So there's going to be a lot of rebalancing. Being said, yes, I do think we might see some selling this week, possibly even to next week. Will tech continue to rally? Tech is extremely strong, especially after hearing that news from Powell about how there will be no inflation and tapering, and that is what tech is worried about. Everybody's talking about a crash. There is no crash, it's digestion and rebalancing at this point in my mind. Everybody's expecting a crash. It is not going to happen. We just had a crash last year. In my mind, it is not enough proof to show me that there's going to be a crash right this second. These are just temporary pullbacks. To be honest, the market needed a strong pullback. It has been actually going up quite a bit. And I have been talking about this in previous videos about how commodities and banks have been on atrocious tears over the past couple months. I know JPM in itself has gone up like 75% since, I believe, like November. You have other ones like, again, your gold, with the commodities. You had copper and everything going up massive amounts, like 200%. And people think that they're going to continue to go. I'm not saying that they couldn't go. In my mind, I don't think we're going to see that. I think they've made their monster run. If you are trying to get in that game now, I think you are extremely late. Will you get a bounce on those? Yes, I believe there will be a bounce again towards the end of summer. With that inflation, the supply and demand, I think you will see a spike, but then it will come back to normal, right? I think is what is going to happen. Again, this isn't financial advice. This is just my opinion. This is my theory on where the market is headed. So getting that all out of the way, we've had this massive pullback. Even Yellen, actually, there was some news. One of the Fed members came out on Friday and kind of started this downfall, essentially talking about, oh, yes, the Fed's been talking about tapering. He's just kind of resurfacing old news because they have been talking. It's been talked about before. They've talked about this a couple weeks ago when they essentially addressed that, yes, there is inflation. Again, Federal Powell kept saying it's transitory, it's transitory, it's transitory. People don't want to believe him. And we're starting to see that, right? We're starting to see, because it's a slow process, right? The whole inflation thing is very slow leading up to where it's at now, right? It's not going to happen overnight. And now it's starting to die down, right? The rates are starting to come back down. You're getting rates back down to 1.50. You got the bonds. Actually, let's take a look at the bonds. The bonds are just tearing up, right? So being said, again, once inflation comes, I think this will actually spike way down, right? Once we start really seeing inflation. So towards the end of the summer, this might actually be a great short towards the end of the summer with CLT and the bonds. But being said, especially trying to get rates once this starts, again, once the inflation numbers start really coming in, I think TLT in itself will start coming down and flushing quite a bit at that point. You just readjust, right? But right now, again, we're seeing solid strength in tech. So something to keep in mind. So we're seeing strong strength in tech. But again, we did have quite a bit of sell-off on Friday. Again, all the main big tech is pretty much held it together. There was a lot of chop. There was some pumping on Friday and everything kind of chopped. But I think everything is solid, right? Again, this week you have to be kind of mindful of the rebalancing and what's going on. So we might see a little bit of selling. But I think we will get a relief bounce in banks and in value. So something to keep a watch on. But for my weekly watch, let's see, it's pretty short this week. Again, I want to kind of see where currently right now I'm only in Tesla shares, but ultimately I understand that I think there's going to be quite a bit of adjustment, quite a bit of volatility going on with the rebalancing. So we do want to keep mindful of that. I don't know how many swings I'll be in. Obviously, I'll let you guys know that because I do make daily videos, daily updates as well, and I put all the information in there. But being said, I like Tesla, MRNA, MU, and TAN. Energy's really been doing good. I think TAN can really have a good week with all the rebalancing and everything that's going on. Clean energy's been pretty strong. That's why also I think Tesla could do really well again this week as well because it's really been held down. But again, value and banks have really been bringing everything down. Again, they've been running quite hot lately, so they do really need to cool off and get back to some normal numbers, especially value. But that being said, I think tech will have a nice run, and then it will kind of everything will rebalance and normalize. And then I think the massive bull market going into the fall will be huge, right? I think we'll have both value and both tech pushing extremely strong at that point. So there's going to be some adjustments along the way, but I think, again, market's going to be extremely bullish. I don't see any crash, and that's pretty much all I hear. So being said, I have a different view on everything. So Tesla, the first one I have, again, there's been a lot of chop. Again, I got in at this, was this Thursday or Wednesday, when it held this 595 mark. I wanted to get it lower, but it didn't quite come lower. Tesla's really just been kind of hanging out, consolidating a lot. So there is going to be a huge move out of here, in my opinion. We do have earnings at the end of July. That's what I'm kind of betting on is a massive run out of here, a massive break out of here for Tesla. So I'm trying to time that for this. Again, if there's any kind of correction, I'm going to put a tight stop on this. Because if it does want to pull back down into this range, I'd rather tag out, re-enter, and then get back in. But ultimately, I think Tesla's going to be an awesome, strong play coming in the following weeks. Again, the next week and a half, be rebalancing, so something to watch and be mindful of. Again, I might tag out during that rebalancing part. only to re-enter and then go for that July earnings run. MRNA is the next one I have. MRNA is one I've been kind of watching pretty closely. It's like consolidating here. It had a massive run with all that positive news. But on the daily in itself, we are hitting that middle Bollinger Band. I do really like this, especially since it's the first retest here. It looks like we tried to retest and pop a little bit. Now we're kind of consolidating. Wouldn't actually be surprised if you're trying to run back up to that 227 mark. So a good couple days swing, I think, would get MRNA back up here, maybe even back to all-time highs, which is something I am watching and trying to be mindful of. MRNA, I want to try to look at some other things other than this growth. If growth wants to start taking off, I want to start looking at the second tier tech, kind of like your second tier growth, like Lemonade and Planter and NDM. A lot of those type of stocks, I think, will make a massive push at that point because they've been held down for a very long time. But also, I think at that same time, we're going to start seeing the market as a whole get some massive strength and see some other major value, right? Like your BAs, your AAL. I think your Airbnbs, right? I think all those are going to start seeing some massive strength, and we're all going to kind of push together at that point. But there has to be this kind of rebalancing, right? Tech has really been held down for like 2 months, to be honest. Facebook has kind of just done its own thing. I don't know, e-commerce has kind of done its own thing over the past couple of weeks, but I have to ultimately understand that a lot of big, especially Tesla and Apple, have kind of really been held back. Now you're starting to see them get strength in the price action, so that's good to see. MU. So MU is the other one I got. I've been really watching this. The reason I like this is because it's where it's at. It's at essentially, you're hitting that 200 moving average. You're at a great support here, demand zone. And then you also have earnings at the end of the month. So that's something I'm really watching MU and seeing for the next 2 months if MU starts really making a massive move with the chips in itself. I know AMD had some massive news, I think, about Google, to be honest. And it had a massive tear up. So I'm thinking MU in itself will also make a massive move right after. TAN is the other one I have. And for clean energy, I do like the chart very much. Something I want to actually jump back into. I've played this on and off just before we started kind of selling off in March. I haven't really looked at it since, but now I think it's at a good point to where I want to get back into it and kind of ride this back up. Will we go to all-time highs? I'm not quite sure there, but I think as far as clean energy, you can't really go wrong with TAN. And especially coming in with the infrastructure and everything getting passed, I think definitely something to keep on the radar. But that's essentially what I got for you guys. Again, I think it's going to be a pretty normal week for the most part. I don't really see anything different. I know Plug actually has earnings on Tuesday, which is something I keep in mind. Also, NVIDIA has their stock split this weekend, so we should see that split on Monday. For that Monday, I'll be actually looking at NVIDIA as well and trying to get some long contracts on that leading forward. If not some shares, I want to kind of give it a day to digest in case there's any kind of sell-off at that point. But ultimately, I want to definitely keep that on radar and see where that goes from there. But again, that's pretty much what I got for you guys. Long week ahead. Again, I think there's going to be some volatility. So again, just keep that in mind. And until next time, guys, I will see you guys later.